are being pushed from across the border and are working on the pressure and timer mechanism. In fact, what we're going to do right now is going to show you the picture proof of Pakistan's plot, and also there is an interview that has been given by the Jammu and Kashmir DGP to my colleague Gautam Adani, which we're going to play it out in a short while from now. Once again, clearly shows the plan that Pakistan essentially has in terms of a twin mechanism. Remember, IEDs which comes in various forms. One such IED that they have now come up is a twin IED, so that the success rate of the attack is far higher than a single attack carried out by an IED. That's the reason why bringing in twin IEDs, what you see right now, are different parts of the IED which is assembled, put together, and planning of an attack to be carried out. But that seems to have been busted by the Jammu and Kashmir police. This is exactly the very spot where the IED blast had actually taken place. We'll also bring in, this was on 22nd of January where the IED blast had taken place. We'll go across to my colleague Gautam Adani for getting us the latest details, and in a short while from now we'll also play out the interview. Gautam Adani, a quick response from you. This was a twin IED blast that they wanted to carry out linked to the attack that took place on 22nd of January. What more details are you picking up? You spoke to the Jammu and Kashmir DGP also.
Yes, Shawan, see what has actually happened post 1st and 2nd of January. When 1st of January the Hindus were targeted, 5 Hindus were killed after checking their Aadhaar cards in the Dangri village of Tarajori. The plot of the Pakistan was to carry out a series of IED attacks across the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, especially in the Jammu region. Then what happened on 2nd of January, an IED blast took place at the house of Deepak Kumar, in which 2 minors were killed, followed by another IED attack that was averted on 8th of January. Then other IED attack that was averted on 12th of January. Then another attack was planned that was averted by the Jammu and Kashmir police on 18th of January. And then on 21st of January, twin IED blast took place. That was in the Narwal area of Jammu, in which 9 people got injured. And post that, there was also plans to carry out more and more IED attacks by the Pakistani-based Lashkar-e-Toiba, that is on the directions of the handler Qasim, who is sitting in the Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and also the Qamar, who is in the Karachi. So for the same, they were sending this twin IED, twin mechanism IEDs, that is pressure and timer IEDs, from across the border using the drones, so that maximum damage can be inflicted to civilians as well as the security forces. Shawan.
Well, thank you very much, Gautam Adani, for getting us the latest details. In fact, the first interview of the Jammu and Kashmir DGP on this entire issue. Dilbag Singh speaks exclusively to my colleague Gautam Adani. Listen in to what the DGP had to say with regards to this sinister plot of Pakistan, which has once again been busted by the police.
देखिए जी, जम्मू कश्मीर ने वाकया ही काबिल तारीफ काम किया है। बहुत मुश्किल केस था जिसको वर्कआउट किया है। 10-11 दिन की इनकी जो दिन रात की मेहनत है, उसी वजह से ये केस वर्कआउट हो चुका है। हालांकि दहशतगर्द ने इस क्राइम से जुड़ी हुई हर तरह की एविडेंस को मिटाने की कोशिश करी। इसके बावजूद भी जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस ने अपने इंट के नेटवर्क को इस्तेमाल करते हुए, लोगों का सहयोग लेकर के, छोटे छोटे एविडेंसेस के पीसेस को जोड़ करके इस दहशतगर्द तक पहुंचे हैं। और इसने इंटरोगेशन में मान लिया है कि न सिर्फ ये 2 IEDs में इसकी शमूलियत थी, बल्कि इसके अलावा जो कटरा बस में IED हुई थी, जिसमें 21 लोग जख्मी हुए थी, 5 लोग मारे गए थे। उससे पहले शास्त्री नगर में फरवरी 22 में IED हुई थी, उसमें जख्मी तो कोई नहीं हुआ था, मगर वो भी शहर के अंदर इसी तरीके का था कि कोई राहगीर उसमें जख्मी हो जाए। तो मुझे लगता है कि वाकया में बड़ी कामयाबी है और लोगों को इस बात की मुबारक है। हमने आज इस दहशतगर्दी की कार्रवाई में जो लोग जख्मी हुए थे, उनके भी जज्बात, उनकी भी फीलिंग्स को देखने की कोशिश करी। वो जहाँ पर आए थे, उन्होंने जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस के काम को सराहा है और उन्होंने ये भी कहा है कि उनको तसल्ली है कि जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस ने बड़े अच्छे तरीके से जो है इस केस को सुलझा करके लोगों की जो फीलिंग्स, जो आहत हुई थी, जो उनको तकलीफ पहुंची थी, उसको एक तरीके से राहत पहुंचाने।
Ladies and gentlemen, the situation in Pakistan is only worsening with every passing day. All this while, whenever there were protests that were taking place in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, there was already an attempt that was made by the Pakistani army to blame it on India. But what's really happening today in Pakistan, in places like Islamabad, Peshawar, it only rings the alarm bell. On the one hand, what is essentially happening is that Pakistan is unleashing fresh terror plot against India almost on a daily basis. On the other hand, there is a massive protest that's taking place inside Pakistan. First it was in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and now it is right inside Pakistan, at the center. Just about a few days ago, there was a terrorist attack on a police station in Mianwali district in Pakistan's Punjab. However, the attack was repulsed and there was no casualties. But that's not where the story ends. First time in the history of Pakistan, police is on the road protesting against the terrorists following the terrorist attack, and it is now the police which is demanding that the Pakistani government acts because they say that they know the terrorists. Take a look at this report. Well, in fact, we've accessed some exclusive visuals of that very attack that took place and that was repulsed. My colleague Kaswar is getting us the latest details. Kaswar, this is not seen in the past, but what's essentially happening is that almost every institution within Pakistan is now collapsing brick by brick. What's happening right now with regards to the police protesting against the administration?
Well, you have rightly pointed out, it is unprecedented, and not only in Pakistan, but when we take account all of the world. And we have never seen police protesting against the bomb blast and the people behind the bomb blast as well. What we have seen until now, that the police and the law enforcement agencies, either in Pakistan or around the globe, they are supposed to guard the lives and the property of the people. But what happening in Pakistan is that, as you know well, a few days ago, a suicide bomb blast occurred there in Peshawar, and above 100, most of the people were, from the police department, they were, the martyred in a suicide attack. And it was actually unprecedented in Pakistan as well. But we have seen a couple of days after that particular suicide attack, that the police took to streets, roads, and they were shouting. We heard them. They were shouting, "Ye jo na maloom hai, wo hame maloom hai." Means they were actually trying to say that the people behind this suicide attack, we know them. But what is unprecedented, sir, that the police in Pakistan is actually have joined the ranks of the people of Pakistan in protesting against these, suicide attackers and militant organization, terrorist organization as well. And you have rightly pointed out that after that suicide blast, after that protest, we have seen another terrorist attack, and that was actually repulsed by Punjab police of Pakistan in Mianwali. So you have rightly concluded Pakistan is in the middle of crisis, and this is twofold crisis. On one hand, it is being attacked by the terrorist organization, and on the other hand, economic crisis is ever there. And let me give you shock that IMF has rejected the proposal that was made by Pakistani authorities, and the Pakistani desperately looking for to secure $6.5 billion from the IMF. And today's meeting, it will be a series of meetings, but what we heard from our sources is that the IMF have apparently raised some issues regarding the subsidies and other things as well. So on one front, Pakistan is being bullied by the terrorist organization, and on the other hand, economic crisis is really haunting the Pakistani. This is what I can tell you from Islamabad at the moment.
Well, just a quick question before I let you go. What is really happening in terms of this recent demand that has been made by the police? Because it now turns out that TTP is not lying low. They are now out in the open carrying out multiple attacks. How exactly will the Pakistani government respond to that? Because Afghanistan has also made it very clear that stop blaming us. It's the result of what you have been brewing all these years.
Well, very good question. Let me tell you, I have spoken to the Pakistani authorities whom matters. According to them, a consensus has been reached, but they have not made it public yet. But now the Pakistani, Pakistan's civilian government and the Pakistan security forces, they are said to be on the same page when it comes to when it comes to launch operation against all the military organization in Pakistan. Not only the TTP, but also ISIS is there, Balochistan Liberation Army is there. They all have actually regrouped to attack Pakistan. And now you have seen in the past that now their stance has been shifted. Terrorist strategy has been shifted. Now they are targeting the police and the law enforcement agencies. And now the suicide attack, which have eliminated more than 100 people, mostly the policemen and the law enforcement agency personnel. Now this is being the turning point. And according to my information, Pakistan Prime Minister has actually given green signal to the law enforcement agencies and asking them to go after the terrorists. And also, on the other hand, they have raised the issue with Afghanistan as well, because Pakistan security agencies believe that all of the leadership of TTP is there in Afghanistan. So it is the government of Pakistan has raised the issue with them as well. And I think Pakistani authorities are going after the terrorist organization this time.
Thank you very much, Gus, for joining us live from outside the Parliament in Islamabad, getting us the latest report. On the other side, hit by one crisis after another, even IMF rejects Pakistan's debt plan now. UK parliamentarian exposes BBC China link, says 18 more China-linked companies fund the BBC.
Yeah, we demand on details. We have to look into the railway budget because it is not clear. But one thing is there, we demanded for a Vande Bharat train with high speed. A Vande Bharat train with the existing speed will not be helpful. Because Kerala line, it is a lot of curves are there and gradient problem is there. So a lot of investment is needed for developing the line.
बजट में कुछ है ही नहीं. रात में जैसे सोते हैं, सपना देखते हैं और सुबह उठिए सब साफ है. ये बजट सपनों का सौदागर वाला हिसाब है. कुछ नहीं है इसमें. क्या है? टैक्स स्लैब घटा दिया, 5 लाख से 7 लाख कर दिया. अरे 5 लाख से 7 लाख ग्रुप सी के जो एम्प्लॉय हैं उनको 8 लाख से ज्यादा मिलता है सालाना, तो वो भी फायदा में नहीं रहेंगे. और ग्रुप डी वाले पहले से ही फायदे में थे.
Congress Parliamentary Strategy Group has decided to hold a meeting at the Congress office today to chalk out the strategy for the budget session. BJP is all geared up for the 2024 elections. The Saffron Party would hold a nationwide 12-day special campaign starting 1st of February. In brief, despite the fact that the budget 2023 has emerged as people-centric budget, the opposition continues to find flaws in it. Here's how the opposition parties have decoded the budget.
बिहार ने इतनी बड़ी संख्या में यहाँ से सांसद भाजपा के लोगों को जितवाया. आज उनको शर्म से डूब जाना चाहिए. आज लगभग 8 साल जो है, 8 साल से ऊपर हो गए सरकार को. क्या मिला बिहार को? एक बड़ी चीज़ बता दो. या पूर्व में जो पहले सरकार रही, यूपीए की सरकार रही, उसने जितना दिया क्या इसने दिया?
तो बजट जो मोदी सरकार ने पेश की है, ये तो 2-4 राज्यों के इलेक्शन चुनाव को देखकर ही उन्होंने पेश किया है. तो ये तो इलेक्शन स्पीच है और वो इलेक्शन स्पीच 15 दिन पहले से ही शुरू किए हैं.
For Karnataka, there is no gain. They have announced 5,300. Already Karnataka and our regime and various regime about 16,000 crores was being spent. They could have announced for the Upper Krishna project as a national project. Then on Mekeda to Reservoir, they could have come out with a solution. I think that these are the important issues which the government has a problem.
1000 करोड़ रुपए की मांग की थी कि बीएसएफ उनको अपग्रेड करने के लिए, मॉडर्नाइजेशन करने के लिए बॉर्डर की, क्योंकि ड्रोन वगैरह बहुत आते हैं, एंटी ड्रोन सिस्टम लॉन्च करने के लिए, उसका नाम भी नहीं लिया गया। तो किसानों के बारे में कुछ नहीं बोला गया, कोई एमएसपी नहीं दी गई। और पंजाब एक बॉर्डर स्टेट है, हमें बहुत चैलेंजेस हैं हमारी पुलिस को अपग्रेड करने के लिए, हमारे बॉर्डर को अपग्रेड करने के लिए।
Yeah, we demanded on details. We have to look into the railway budget because it is not clear. But one thing is there, we demanded for a Vande Bharat train with high speed. A Vande Bharat train with the existing speed will not be helpful. Because Kerala line, it is a lot of curves are there and gradient problem is there. So a lot of investment is needed for developing the line.
बजट में कुछ है ही नहीं। रात में जैसे सोते हैं, सपना देखते हैं और सुबह उठिए सब साफ है। ये बजट सपनों का सौदागर वाला हिसाब है, कुछ नहीं है इसमें। क्या है? टैक्स स्लैब घटा दिया, 5 लाख से 7 लाख कर दिया। अरे 5 लाख से 7 लाख ग्रुप सी के जो एम्प्लॉय हैं उनको 8 लाख से ज्यादा मिलता है सालाना, तो वो भी फायदा में नहीं रहेंगे। और ग्रुप डी वाले पहले से ही फायदे में थे।
Congress Parliamentary Strategy Group has decided to hold a meeting at the Congress office today to chalk out the strategy for the budget session. BJP is all geared up for the 2024 elections. The Saffron Party would hold a nationwide 12-day special campaign starting 1st of February.
For Karnataka, there is no gain. They have announced 5,300. Already Karnataka and our regime and various regime about 16,000 crores was being spent. They could have announced for the Upper Krishna project as a national project. Then on Mekeda to Reservoir, they could have come out with a solution. I think that these are the important issues which the government has a problem.
1000 करोड़ रुपए की मांग की थी कि बीएसएफ उनको अपग्रेड करने के लिए, मॉडर्नाइजेशन करने के लिए बॉर्डर की, क्योंकि ड्रोन वगैरह बहुत आते हैं, एंटी ड्रोन सिस्टम लॉन्च करने के लिए, उसका नाम भी नहीं लिया गया। तो किसानों के बारे में कुछ नहीं बोला गया, कोई एमएसपी नहीं दी गई। और पंजाब एक बॉर्डर स्टेट है, हमें बहुत चैलेंजेस हैं हमारी पुलिस को अपग्रेड करने के लिए, हमारे बॉर्डर को अपग्रेड करने के लिए।
In brief, despite the fact that the budget 2023 has emerged as people-centric budget, the opposition continues to find flaws in it. Here's how the opposition parties have decoded the budget.
बिहार में इतनी बड़ी संख्या में यहाँ से सांसद भाजपा के लोगों को जितवाया, आज उनको शर्म से डूब जाना चाहिए। आज लगभग 8 साल जो है, 8 साल से ऊपर हो गए सरकार को। क्या मिला बिहार को? एक बड़ी चीज बता दो, या पूर्व में जो पहले सरकार रही, यूपीए की सरकार रही, उसने जितना दिया क्या इसने दिया?
तो बजट जो मोदी सरकार ने पेश की है, ये तो 2-4 राज्यों के इलेक्शन चुनाव को देखकर ही उन्होंने पेश किया है। तो ये तो इलेक्शन स्पीच है, और वो इलेक्शन स्पीच 15 दिन पहले से ही शुरू किए हैं।
Yeah, we demanded on details. We have to look into the
Adani Group shares tank after firm's late night move to call off the FPO. Despite assuring return of proceeds to investors, Adani Group stocks tank further. Government says ready for discussion, but the opposition back at it, stalls proceedings, creates ruckus in the parliament. UK parliamentarians exposes BBC China link, says 18 more China-linked companies fund BBC. Hit by one crisis after another, even IMF rejects Pakistan's debt plan now. And women in blue return back home after packing Glory India cheers on. But the BBC China money scandal has blown up yet again. It's another big disclosure made by Rajya Sabha parliamentarian Mahesh Jethmalani on BBC. According to the UK media, BBC has invested in Chinese state firms, and it's a massive £150 million of investment that has allegedly been done by BBC. Now, where lies the problem? With regards to the £150 million that has been pumped into Chinese state-owned companies that have been accused to links to appalling human rights violations. Joining us on this broadcast is Rajya Sabha parliamentarian and senior advocate Mahesh Jethmalani. Mr. Jethmalani, thank you very much for speaking to Republic TV. Yet another disclosure, this time about the activities of the BBC with regards to supporting Beijing's totalitarian regime. The article that has been shared by you, Mr. Jethmalani, essentially talks about linkages with companies that have appalling track record of human rights violations.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a twin angle to this particular article. One is that not only has BBC been receiving funds from Chinese state-owned companies, which unquestionably undermines their independence, and from India's point of view, sheds light on why there has been such a long history of anti-India propaganda by the BBC. But not only were they receiving money, but now it shows that their employees, 47,000 of their employees' pension funds have now been invested in 10 to 12, and this is at least £150 million. The figure might go up much higher because if you've seen the article, only 20% of its pension funds have been disclosed so far. So we don't know how much more of their pension funds have been disclosed in myriad Chinese. So, now it just shows the complete the financial interlock between BJ. First they receive it, BBC receives money, and then it invests its employees' provident funds, its pension funds, into these state-owned companies. So they're completely financially locked in with China.
Mr. Jethmalani, in fact, not just here in India, but the fact that even in the United Kingdom, a Tory leader, Duncan Smith, had also raised this entire issue. And while not much has spoken about, but many seem to be completely astonished in the manner BBC has been operating. And the fact of the matter is that the money is being pumped into companies which have atrocious track record.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other aspect, as I was just about to say that. One is, of course, the financial linkages, right? And the depth and extent of those linkages undermine its independence. I mean, they cannot possibly then be seen to be writing about, anti-Indian stuff, which basically only suits China. Secondly, it's complete hypocrisy. On the one hand, your London, your head office in London is going about and one of the talking about human rights violations by the Chinese state, which of course is aided in these matters by Chinese state-owned companies. So they're going on exposing this. One of them who exposed the appalling violations on the Uyghur community in Xinjiang, he was actually expelled he was detained and expelled by the Chinese state. So on the one hand, your own reporters, you are reporting on human rights violations in China. Your reporters are being, repressed for it, detained and then deported. And on the other hand, you are investing in those very companies who are responsible for those human rights violations. I mean, what happened in India, the last anti-PM documentary, was a hatchet job, right? Now, two can play at this game. And ours is not a hatchet job. This is your own country's reporting. These are your own MPs. And we have undeniable proof about your linkages. So,
Mr. Jethmalani, I would like to make an attempt to try and link another issue with this particular matter in terms of the Chinese operations. When the Enforcement Directorate was basically carrying out their investigation into various companies, for instance, Xiaomi being one of them, it turns out that there is a larger playbook at play, at least here in India. If you juxtapose that with the situation with the reportage of the BBC, then it only clearly goes on to indicate that the CCP is only trying to ensure that these elements come together and try and discredit the growth story of India. Look at the money where it's going into Chinese overseas land and investment. Then you have the China Construction Bank Corporation, clear link with the CCP members.
Right, absolutely. I mean, they're on the boards of these banks. Communist Party members are on these bank boards. I mean, look, in China, in any case, right, the CCP controls everything. Between the CCP and the PLA, they control everything. China is undoubtedly an army with a country and not a country with an army, right? And everything is controlled by the CCP. So you've seen the way they've treated their own population from times immemorial, beginning with the Great Leap Forward, let 100 flowers bloom, and now the Tiananmen Square, and right now the way their COVID patients have been treated. So, it's a completely totalitarian state. They abuse their own citizens, Tibetans, Mongols, Uyghurs. And the BBC, that I have to say, that epitome of hypocrisy, right, is writing anti-India stuff, right? Given the fact that it is actually a complete slave to China. It is a matter of great shame, and the BJP and the BBC should be absolutely ashamed of its conduct.
Mr. Jethmalani, just one more question that I would like to take. This was the first part of my question, the previous question, with regards to the playbook of the Chinese. The operations that Chinese have had here in India also, various companies have now come under the scanner of our central agencies, and it only goes on to indicate that there is a larger design, a nefarious design that is at play. Central agencies in their investigation have made it abundantly clear that dubious funding is taking place, and it only hits out at the growth story of India.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt that even in India, the state-owned companies which are here, apart from the fact that they're indulging in a lot of malpractices which are being investigated by, ED and CBI, right? There are a lot of malpractices by a host of Chinese companies operating in India. There is no doubt that these companies are also spreading their wings in the matter of espionage.
Mr. Jethmalani, this is Abhishek this side. You making a very serious charge that BBC perhaps indulged in some element of espionage on behalf of the Chinese paymasters. But the Chinese playbook that we have been discussing after you really brought out this aspect of BBC's connection with China has played out in many countries. How really, is there some thought, because you are from the ruling dispensation, from the party in power, is there some thought in the establishment as to how to deal with this situation where China increasingly uses its money muscle, through its proxy Pakistan, and now in this case through its proxy BBC, to push its agenda and to compromise India's national security interests? I am sure the establishment must have got thinking over the last couple of days as to how to tackle this situation.
You know, this is a completely, effort on my part. This is not, I have no doubt that the what you call the establishment has taken cognizance of these facts, and I have no doubt that the establishment will take appropriate steps to do what is necessary to prevent a very sinister means of, A, perhaps surveillance, and B, infiltration into our many institutions in this country through ostensibly, independent companies. So I have no doubt that everybody's taking cognizance of that and their activity. But what exactly those steps will be, I don't know. I think, with this kind of financial interlocking with an enemy state of India, right? An enemy country, it's a designated enemy country. Why do we need BBC in India anymore? I mean, just to listen to all this, just because
I was actually coming to that.
Yeah, exactly.
I was coming to that. In 1970s, it was banned once, and with a different government. At that time, a strong prime minister. You think that's a possibility to send across a message?
Well, in this case, I don't know. The 1970 exact background. I don't know. There was some criticism of the then prime minister, right? And she acted to nip that in the bud. In this case, we are much more informed, and we are. Anybody would be justified in taking stringent action against the BBC because there's a judicial verdict. I mean, there have been commissions of inquiry, there have been trial court judgments, there have been Supreme Court judgments only till as recently as April. So this year, 2022. So given all that, there is a strong reason to believe that this is a completely motivated piece of, yellow journalism. It is a hatchet job. And therefore, for me, as being a part of what happened, being part of the Gujarat cases and knowing the real truth, I really feel that this needed to be, I knew that it was motivated because the timing, right, and the material was flimsy, the timing was telling, so I knew there had to be a motive. And that's what set me on the task of finding out what the motive could possibly be. And I have to say, I was just amazed by the kind of activities they've been indulging in, the BBC, qua China.
Sir, before we let you go, my final question to you. Now that we know the connections, and since it is sought to be spun as a freedom of expression issue, one option is obviously ban the BBC, which can come out as a strong option. Of course, it might be supported by your constituency. The other option is obviously to take it up with the masters of the BBC or the masters on the face of it, the establishment in London, the government of the United Kingdom. You think at least that's the bare minimum we can do?
I think there should be a strong protest. I think the UK High Commissioner should be called in and should say, what is this rubbish? I mean, you don't respect our judicial verdicts. I mean, we're not some banana republic, for God's sake. In fact, the UK has a worse record than us. I mean, half our huge criminals who have looted the country are getting safe haven in the UK. Half our criminals are running away to London and enjoying lives over there, extravagantly with money looted from our banks. The BJP should respect our judicial system, especially in the criminal area, is much more robust. It may be slow, but it's much more robust. We don't give safe refuge to criminals. from other countries.
Right. Good that you mentioned about the economic fugitives of law of India residing in United Kingdom. Mr. Jethmalani, in fact, of the last 21 requests for extradition made by India to the UK, only one has been, sent back. So that really gives you an idea of which side works at what speed. On that note, thank you so much, Mr. Jethmalani, for joining us. And I hand it over back to Shravan.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Shravan.
Well, thank you very much, Abhishek. Also, Parliamentarian Mahesh Jethmalani joining us on this broadcast. Yet another expose on the BBC. Serious questions being raised about the operations of the broadcaster. On the other side, the Adani storm in the Parliament. Opposition parties demand a JPC on the Adani controversy. Hit by one crisis after another, even the IMF rejects Pakistan's debt plan now. All this and much more on the other side.
Everything we know might well be at risk. The time to act is now. We must all be champions for sustainability, for the earth.
QS and THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
आपके कहने पर इस बार टाटा 1mg से दवाई ऑर्डर की थी। ऐप पे आज की ही डिलीवरी बता रहा है, लेकिन इतनी जल्दी तो होगा नहीं, क्यों?
अरे यार, अजीब टाइप के नेगेटिव इंसान हो। मैं लिख के देता हूँ, दवाइयों की डिलीवरी बिल्कुल टाइम पे हो जाएगी। जी आ गया जी।
पटेल जी, हाँ जी, भरोसेमंद है जी।
टाटा 1mg आप भी डाउनलोड कर लें जी।
In brief, despite the fact that the budget 2023 has emerged as people-centric budget, the opposition continues to find flaws in it. Here's how the opposition parties have decoded the budget.
बिहार में इतनी बड़ी संख्या में यहाँ से सांसद भाजपा के लोगों को जितवाया, आज उनको शर्म से डूब जाना चाहिए। आज लगभग 8 साल जो है, 8 साल से ऊपर हो गए सरकार को। क्या मिला बिहार को? एक बड़ी चीज बता दो, या पूर्व में जो पहले सरकार रही, यूपीए की सरकार रही, उसने जितना दिया क्या इसने दिया?
तो बजट जो मोदी सरकार ने पेश की है, ये तो 2-4 राज्यों के इलेक्शन चुनाव को देखकर ही उन्होंने पेश किया है। तो ये तो इलेक्शन स्पीच है, और वो इलेक्शन स्पीच 15 दिन पहले से ही शुरू किए हैं।
We demand details. We have to look into the railway budget because it is not clear. But one thing is there, we demanded for a Vande Bharat train with high speed. A Vande Bharat train with the existing speed will not be helpful. Because Kerala line, it is a lot of curves are there and gradient problem is there. So a lot of investment is needed for developing the line.
बजट में कुछ है ही नहीं। रात में जैसे सोते हैं, सपना देखते हैं, और सुबह उठिए सब साफ है। ये बजट सपनों का सौदागर वाला हिसाब है, कुछ नहीं है इसमें। क्या है? टैक्स स्लैब घटा दिया, 5 लाख से 7 लाख कर दिया। अरे 5 लाख से 7 लाख ग्रुप सी के जो एम्प्लॉई हैं, उनको 8 लाख से ज्यादा मिलता है सालाना, तो वो भी फायदा में नहीं रहेंगे, और ग्रुप डी वाले पहले से ही फायदे में थे।
Congress Parliamentary Strategy Group has decided to hold a meeting at the Congress office today to chalk out the strategy for the budget session. BJP is all geared up for the 2024 elections. The Saffron Party would hold a nationwide 12-day special campaign starting 1st of February. In brief, despite the fact that the budget 2023 has emerged as people-centric budget, the opposition continues to find flaws in it. Here's how the opposition parties have decoded the budget.
बिहार ने इतनी बड़ी संख्या में यहाँ से सांसद भाजपा के लोगों को जितवाया, आज उनको शर्म से डूब जाना चाहिए। आज लगभग 8 साल जो है, 8 साल से ऊपर हो गए सरकार को, क्या मिला बिहार को?
Amidst fears over escalating fears, Israel launches fresh airstrikes on Gaza. Russia ramps up attack on Ukraine, strikes residential areas in Kramatorsk, at least 2 dead. Australia is set to replace monarchy. King Charles and Queen Elizabeth won't appear on the notes.
Arnab debates the Adani controversy. Big debate as Adani Group calls off FPO. After Hindenburg saga, FPO called off. Debating tonight at 9 p.m.
For Karnataka, there is no gain. They have announced 5,300. Already Karnataka and our regime and various regime, about 16,000 crores was being spent. They could have announced for the Upper Krishna project as a national project. Then on Mekeda to Reservoir, they could have come out with a solution. I think that these are the important issues which the government has a problem.
1000 करोड़ रुपए की मांग की थी कि बीएसएफ उनको अपग्रेड करने के लिए, मॉडर्नाइजेशन करने के लिए बॉर्डर की, क्योंकि ड्रोन वगैरह बहुत आते हैं, एंटी ड्रोन सिस्टम लॉन्च करने के लिए, उसका नाम भी नहीं लिया गया। तो किसानों के बारे में कुछ नहीं बोला गया, कोई एमएसपी नहीं दी गई। और पंजाब एक बॉर्डर स्टेट है, हमें बहुत चैलेंजेस हैं हमारी पुलिस को अपग्रेड करने के लिए, हमारे बॉर्डर को अपग्रेड करने के लिए।
In brief, despite the fact that the budget 2023 has emerged as people-centric budget, the opposition continues to find flaws in it. Here's how the opposition parties have decoded the budget.
बिहार ने इतनी बड़ी संख्या में यहाँ से सांसद भाजपा के लोगों को जितवाया, आज उनको शर्म से डूब जाना चाहिए। आज लगभग 8 साल जो है, 8 साल से ऊपर हो गए सरकार को, क्या मिला बिहार को? एक बड़ी चीज बता दो, या पूर्व में जो पहले सरकार रही, यूपीए की सरकार रही, उसने जितना दिया क्या इसने दिया?
तो बजट जो मोदी सरकार ने पेश की है, ये तो 2-4 राज्यों के इलेक्शन चुनाव को देखकर ही उन्होंने पेश किया है। तो ये तो इलेक्शन स्पीच है, और वो इलेक्शन स्पीच 15 दिन पहले से ही शुरू किए हैं।
Yeah, we even done details. We have to look into the railway budget because it is not clear. But one thing is there, we demanded for a Vande Bharat train with high speed. A Vande Bharat train with the existing speed will not be helpful. Because Kerala line, it is a lot of curves are there and gradient problem is there. So a lot of investment is needed for developing the line.
बजट में कुछ है ही नहीं। रात में जैसे सोते हैं, सपना देखते हैं और सुबह उठिए सब साफ है। ये बजट सपनों का सौदागर वाला हिसाब है, कुछ नहीं है इसमें। क्या है? टैक्स स्लैब घटा दिया, 5 लाख से 7 लाख कर दिया। अरे 5 लाख से 7 लाख ग्रुप सी के जो एम्प्लॉय हैं उनको 8 लाख से ज्यादा मिलता है सालाना, तो वो भी फायदा में नहीं रहेंगे, और ग्रुप डी वाले पहले से ही फायदे में थे।
Congress Parliamentary Strategy Group has decided to hold a meeting at the Congress office today to chalk out the strategy for the budget session. BJP is all geared up for
India batter Shreyas Iyer has been ruled out of the opening test of the Border Gavaskar Trophy against Australia starting 9th of February in Nagpur. According to sources, Iyer would need extra time to recuperate from a back issue. Usman Khwaja's travel to India for the upcoming Border Gavaskar Trophy has now been delayed due to a problem in the obtaining visa. Khwaja will reportedly depart from Bengaluru today, according to the current plans.
आपके कहने पर इस बार टाटा 1mg दवाई ऑर्डर की थी। ऐप पे आज की ही डिलीवरी बता रहा है, लेकिन इतनी जल्दी तो होगा नहीं, क्यों?
अरे यार, अजीब टाइप के नेगेटिव इंसान हो। मैं लिख के देता हूँ, दवाइयों की डिलीवरी बिल्कुल टाइम पे हो जाएगी। जी आ गया जी।
पटेल जी? हाँ जी, भरोसेमंद है जी।
टाटा 1mg आप भी डाउनलोड कर लें जी।
QS and THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
In brief, despite the fact that the budget 2023 has emerged as people-centric budget, the opposition continues to find flaws in it. Here's how the opposition parties have decoded the budget.
बिहार ने इतनी बड़ी संख्या में यहाँ से सांसद भाजपा के लोगों को जितवाया, आज उनको शर्म से डूब जाना चाहिए। आज लगभग 8 साल जो है, 8 साल से ऊपर हो गए सरकार को। क्या मिला बिहार को? एक बड़ी चीज़ बता दो, या पूर्व में जो पहले सरकार रही, यूपी की सरकार रही, उसने जितना दिया क्या इसने दिया?
तो बजट जो मोदी सरकार ने पेश की है, ये तो 2-4 राज्यों के इलेक्शन चुनाव को देखकर ही उन्होंने पेश किया है। तो ये तो इलेक्शन स्पीच है, और वो इलेक्शन स्पीच 15 दिन पहले से ही शुरू किए हैं।
For Karnataka, there is no gain. They have announced 5,300. Already Karnataka and our regime and various regime, about 16,000 crores was being spent. They could have announced for the Upper Krishna project as a national project. Then on Mekeda to Reservoir, they could have come out with a solution. I think that these are the important issues which the government has a problem.
1000 करोड़ रुपए की मांग की थी कि बीएसएफ उनको अपग्रेड करने के लिए, मॉडर्नाइजेशन करने के लिए बॉर्डर की, क्योंकि ड्रोन वगैरह बहुत आते हैं, एंटी ड्रोन सिस्टम लॉन्च करने के लिए, उसका नाम भी नहीं लिया गया। तो किसानों के बारे में कुछ नहीं बोला गया, कोई एमएसपी नहीं दी गई। और पंजाब एक बॉर्डर स्टेट है, हमें बहुत चैलेंजेस हैं हमारी पुलिस को अपग्रेड करने के लिए, हमारे बॉर्डर को अपग्रेड करने के लिए।
Yeah, we even done details. We have to look into the railway budget because it is not clear. But one thing is there, we demanded for a Vande Bharat train with high speed. A Vande Bharat train with the existing speed will not be helpful. Because Kerala line, it is a lot of curves are there and gradient problem is there. So a lot of investment is needed for developing the line.
बजट में कुछ है ही नहीं। रात में जैसे सोते हैं, सपना देखते हैं, और सुबह उठिए सब साफ है। ये बजट सपनों का सौदागर वाला हिसाब है, कुछ नहीं है इसमें। क्या है? टैक्स स्लैब घटा दिया, 5 लाख से 7 लाख कर दिया। अरे 5 लाख से 7 लाख ग्रुप सी के जो एम्प्लॉई हैं उनको 8 लाख से ज्यादा मिलता है सालाना, तो वो भी फायदा में नहीं रहेंगे, और ग्रुप डी वाले पहले से ही फायदे में थे।
Congress Parliamentary Strategy Group has decided to hold a meeting at the Congress office today to chalk out the strategy for the budget session. BJP is all geared up for the 2024 elections. The Saffron Party would hold a nationwide 12-day special campaign starting 1st of February.
For Karnataka, there is no gain. They have announced 5,300. Already Karnataka.
Thank you for joining us on the biggest story tonight. It's 7 p.m., ladies and gentlemen, and the biggest story tonight is the Adani controversy. Last night, a little after 10 p.m., we at Republic TV broke the story of Adani calling off its FPO of its group firm Adani Enterprises. Since then, Gautam Adani has addressed the media, and despite that, he's addressed his investors, assured them, and despite that, stocks have slumped across the board firms. That's our biggest story tonight. Here are the headlines. We're looking at the Adani story in great detail in the next 20 minutes. Let's get started. It's the Adani controversy. Calls off FPO, stocks have tanked. Gautam Adani assures investors in an early morning address. Parliament is deadlocked over the Adani storm, opposition raising the issue on the floor of the House. The Adani storm, opposition wants an investigation. They want a JPC. The RBI has sought details from banks. Can you believe it? The BBC has invested £150 million in Chinese state-run firms. China funds BBC, and then BBC puts that money and more, 150 million of its employee pension back in Chinese state-run firms. Mahesh Jethmalani's big disclosure says BBC is a slave of China. Another setback for Pakistan. The IMF has rejected Pakistan's debt bailout plan. It's our biggest story tonight. Billionaire Gautam Adani has said the decision to withdraw a fully subscribed share sale of the flagship firm of his group was primarily because of volatility in the markets. Adani Group company stocks have lost in the last 1 week over $90 billion in value since a US short seller made some allegations which the Adani Group had responded to. Now, Adani Enterprises 20,000 crore follow-on public offer, or the FPO, managed to get investors. It was fully subscribed on the last day of the share close. But late on Wednesday, the company decided, that is last night, they decided to withdraw the FPO and refund investors. Early this morning, before markets opened, Gautam Adani addressed investors. Here is the full address by Gautam Adani, who makes very rare media appearances. Listen in.
Dear friends, after a fully subscribed FPO, yesterday's decision of his withdrawal would have surprised many. But considering the volatility of the market seen yesterday, our board strongly felt that it would not have been morally correct to proceed with the FPO. In my humble journey of over 4 decades as an entrepreneur, I have been blessed to receive overwhelming support from all stakeholders and particularly the investor community. It is important for me to confess that whatever little I have achieved in life is due to the faith and trust reposed by them. I owe all my success to them. For me, the interest of my investor is paramount and everything is secondary. Hence, to insulate the investors from potential losses, we have withdrawn the FPO. This decision will not have any impact on our existing operations as well as our future plans. We will continue to focus on timely executions and delivery of projects. The fundamentals of our company are very strong. Our balance sheet is healthy and assets robust. Our EBITDA levels and cash flows have been very strong, and we have an impeccable track record of fulfilling our debt obligations. We will continue to focus on a long-term value creation, and growth will be managed by our internal accruals. Once the market stabilizes, we will review our capital market strategy. We have a strong focus on ESG, and every business of ours will continue to create value in a responsible way. The strongest validation of our governance principles comes from several international partnerships we have built across our different entities. I take this opportunity to thank our investment bankers, institutional investors, and shareholders from within and outside the country for giving unflinching support to the FPO. Despite the volatility in the stock over the last week, your faith and belief in the company, its business, and its management has been extremely reassuring and humbling for all of us. We are very confident that we will continue to get support in the future also. Thank you again for your trust in us. Jai Hind.
And that was the full statement of Gautam Adani this morning. Let me go across to, let me introduce first Abhishek Kapoor, our Senior Executive Editor, joining us from our Delhi newsroom on the broadcast. But I'd like to start with Varinder Bansal. Varinder Bansal is the founder of Omkara Capital Private Limited. Varinder, thank you for joining us. First of all, you've seen the markets and them reacting to whatever's been going on. What do you make of it?
I think it's a simple cycle which is going on. You know, things move up, things come down. Adani Enterprise went from 150 to